Hello again, everybody. Steve Farhood for another edition of Hot Topics on the Boxing Channel. We're at Gleason's Gym in New York City, in Brooklyn, and I'm along with Michael Woods from thesweetscience.com and the Boxing Channel. Woodsy, great to have you back.
Thanks for having me, pal.
Let's start with April 12, coming up. One of the biggest fights of the year, rematch from June 2012. Manny, Pacquiao, Tim Bradley. The first fight, needless to say, quite controversial. The entire world, minus about 3 people, thought Pacquiao deserved the decision. He didn't get it. Since then, it's been a good time for Bradley. A couple of big wins against Marquez and Provodnikov. Manny got knocked out by Marquez, so things have changed a little bit in 2 years. Your take, your overview of the fight.
I'm a colossal wimp.
We knew that already.
Yeah, I'm a colossal wimp because I just see a draw here. I see a back and forth round every single round. I see 2 men that are still on a high plane. I see Bradley on the ascent, but I don't think Pacquiao has dipped much. And here's the problem, if it is a problem. I see the judges are possibly going to be tipping towards Pacquiao. What about that makeup call that we could get? I see Pacquiao by a point or 2, or really, maybe a draw, and then let's do a third one.
Wow, very interesting. 2 of the judges who scored for Bradley the first time around, one is retired and the other sort of took a mandatory leave of absence. So that's very interesting. There was a lot of pressure. Now, I disagree with the fact that it'll be a close fight. I think Manny will win again, even though he didn't get the decision the first time. And the reason is I don't think it's a great style matchup for Tim Bradley. Bradley wears you down. He beats you as much psychologically and with his will as he does with his skill. And if Manny can move, stick, use his speed advantage, don't worry about the knockout. I see Manny, assuming he's still Manny, to be able to carry that for 12 rounds and get a decision, and this time actually win the decision. But do you think Manny is a little bit on the downside, or did the Brandon Rios fight say no, he's not?
Manny is saying all the right things, but, I mean, boxers are politicians sometimes. They say the right things. I've been hearing Pacquiao say this is the best camp ever. Freddie is pushing me like never before. I'm the challenger this time around. I want to believe him. I do, but we're going to have to see April 12th. We're just not going to know until fight night, Steve.
So Woodsy says a draw. You can get about 40-1 in Vegas on a draw, which is not bad. I say Manny wins the decision and gets the decision this time. We'll see what happens on April 12th. Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley 2. We're ready to tackle our second hot topic, Woodsy. A rematch on May 10 for the vacant title, heavyweight title, that Vitaly Klitschko owned. He's now retired. A rematch between Chris Arreola and Bermane Stiverne. Stiverne won the first time around. Now, what's interesting about this fight is not only that Vitaly Klitschko's gone and we're looking at some new blood in the heavyweight division, but also the fact that this fight's going to be televised in prime time on ESPN. Not Friday Night Fights, not ESPN2, but ESPN. Fairly significant, no?
Very significant. The worldwide leader, seen by what, 10 trillion eyeballs? This is a good thing for boxing, only a good thing for boxing. We hope they do more of it. It's not a given, okay? I spoke to Brian Queter, who is ESPN's boxing boss, and he said, you know what? We need good ratings. We need this to do well, and then we might do more of it. This is compelling for a couple different reasons. ESPN likes to change things up, do things differently, okay? But also, Arreola, if he wins, of Mexican descent as heavyweight champion. There's a great demographic pull that we can get from that. So are they wanting Arreola to win? They wouldn't say that, but would it help? It would help the cause, yes.
Well, certainly an interesting fight for their debut, so to speak. My question is this, long-term, looking at the big picture with ESPN. We know that top-ranked fighters fight on HBO. We know that Golden Boy fighters fight on Showtime. Those are, by far, the 2 largest promoters in boxing. Now, if ESPN wants to, they can cherry-pick other fights, maybe put on flyweights, for instance. Roman Gonzalez is a great fighter that's never experienced any American television. But is there enough talent to go around? Certainly, economically, ESPN can become a player instantly. We know that they have enough money for the rights fees in every major sport. But is there enough talent? Can they get the real good fights? That's what intrigues me.
Money talks. Money always talks, and ESPN money talks even louder because you get those eyeballs. It's all about eyeballs. It's all about those platforms. And take it out from behind that paywall. No offense, Showtime and HBO, but put it on free cable TV, and you can imagine the possibilities. I'm really, really rooting for this to succeed.
We'll see what happens. May 10, Stiverne and Arreola on ESPN. Topic number 3 on Hot Topics, more of a generic topic. Boxers fighting well into their 40s. Some would argue past their prime. Some would argue athletes today are just better in their 40s than they've ever been. Woodsy, it's a difficult subject. It's something we've all thought about. There are plenty of examples out there.
Yes, like Bernard Hopkins, April 19th, he's almost 50 years old. He's an alien. He encourages other people to do what he does. And really only Hopkins can do what he does. So you get guys who are 41, 42 saying, I can do that too, but it ain't that easy. So it's good for Bernard. Is it good for everyone as a whole? Maybe not so much.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think back to George Foreman winning the heavyweight title at the age of 45. What happened after that is that a lot of fighters who hadn't fought in 2, 3, 4 years looked at Big George. They said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And what they also thought was, look at the money he's making. Look at the money Bernard Hopkins is making at age 49. These guys, a lot of them shouldn't be fighting. We have state commissions that have to license them to fight. Ultimately, it's the state commission's decision. But I do think that that's a negative when you see the success of a Hopkins, the success years ago of a Foreman, that it encourages. Maybe Nate Campbell is an example. He just fought a week ago. He's 42 years old. I think it's fair to say he's well past his prime. I don't know. There are probably a lot of other Nate Campbells out there looking to get licensed, and they get turned down.
Like your point, but I also want to caution that us writers, I think we have to be very careful about opining and telling a man to step away, telling a man to leave his job, and maybe the only job he's ever known. I see people doing that rather flippantly at times. I frankly don't agree with it. We must be very careful about lobbying in a situation like this. You must remember, these gentlemen, oftentimes, it's all they know. So if we can find them another job, that's great. But if not, then kind of stay in your lane, mind your business, and let the commissions do their job.
I agree with you. A long time ago, as a boxing writer, I stopped suggesting that fighters who get beaten up, who are older, stop fighting. It's their decision. It's the people who license them. Let's leave it at that.
Amen.
So that's it for another edition of Hot Topics on the Boxing Channel. I'm Steve Farhood. This is, what's your name again?
Woodsy.
Woodsy. This is Woodsy, and we look forward to seeing you again in a few days.